I think liberal arts, research universities, national universities, every school has a very similar kind of pressure, which is that the audience is changing. And how is the audience changing? We have an audience that is smarter, they have more resources available, they're tech savvy, they are now negotiating, they know how to negotiate, and they ask the right questions. So you have an audience that is very intelligent and smart. They know what they want in many cases, and they have a lot of people influencing their decision. There's social media, there's high school counselors. So in that regard, absolutely, it's challenging. I wouldn't call it tough. I think there's a challenge, but if you are able to crack the code, if you will, there's definitely an opportunity to succeed. And from the time that I went to college in 2000 to now, I've seen a significant growth in resources available to students in helping them make their decision. So colleges and universities, if you think about it, there are all of these colleges in this country, universities, who want to target the same group of students. And at the end of the day, they're sending brochures, emails, postcards. You can make it as elaborate as possible, but that's what they're doing. And how do you get that kid who's receiving 50 brochures a day to look at your material, to look at your college, to look at... So brand name is important, but marketing strategy is very important as well. And number three, something that I think is very important in today's market is research. It's understanding which markets make sense for you. You can't just take a lot of money and say, and here it is. You have to be smart and intelligent about it. So this challenge that you just talked about represents an opportunity. So in many ways, instead of being scared, I'm excited by it. We pull 80% of our applicants from the Mid-Atlantic, and that population in general is declining. The number of apps we receive from that population is declining as well. And it's a function of where we are in terms of demographics. Now, you have to invest beyond the Mid-Atlantic. Is that there are states like California and Florida that produce more than 200,000 high school graduates every year, but we're not getting any share. We're probably getting a handful of students. That's an area of opportunity. But more importantly, this is our backyard, the Mid-Atlantic. So you keep growing that, you keep investing in it, but you also keep an eye on the fact that the market as a whole is declining. So you have other areas that you need to invest in. And so that just, the numbers, is just the trends you look at, that's what they reflect. Enrollment management is the marriage of art of recruiting and the science of data mining, and you get it together. So how do you break into California? You first identify markets that make sense for Washington College. You take zip codes, you use factors like affluence, whether or not that family would send a kid to a state outside California, and there's data that's available. You take all of that and you come up with a market analysis. So you don't just go to California one fine day and show up and say, we're going to start recruiting here. So this is a model that you do based on data from several years. Then once you've identified those zip codes, you find out, do we have an alumni connection? Do we have a connection with a coach? Do we have a connection with a teacher or a professor, someone who's from the area? Then you start tapping into that. Then it really is up to the art, because you could have all of this data done and you show up, and if you don't know how to talk the talk and get that Californian high school counselor to get interested in Washington College when there's all these other 100 colleges from the East Coast that also want, that's where the art comes in. So you hire someone who is charismatic, energetic, knows Washington College, can walk into a high school, demand attention, and say, this is a great product. So you use data to position yourself, and then you use the art to close the deal. And that's how you enter a new market, because there's a principle in marketing called first mover advantage, and we don't have that because all these colleges already moved in there. So we
describe that a little bit.
First mover advantage is when you find a market, and while others are researching the market, you get into the market before others do. And we don't have that luxury because there's a lot of liberal arts colleges from the East Coast that have already gone in, and they're giving a very similar pitch. So why will this counselor look at Washington College? And they will look at us because we've done our research, and we're going to offer something that's different by sending someone who knows the market, knows Washington College, and can convince a student to want to come all the way to Maryland to Washington College. And it's possible. It's been done before. It'll take time, but we have to invest in that as well. The first thing I'm doing is basics of marketing. Basics of marketing is you understand who your customer is first, you understand what the product is, and then you communicate. You don't just communicate because you have to communicate. So I spent a lot of time in March understanding Washington College, March and April, in May and June, and now I'm trying to understand our market. And now that I have a pretty good understanding of the market and a really good understanding of Washington College, now we can effectively communicate because we know who we are, we know what the market is. You'll then be successful because you've taken out a lot of the uncertainties and unknowns from the process. So you know that there's a certain kind of kid that just won't look at Washington College, and that's okay because we're not trying to recruit that kid. Whereas earlier, if you were just sending mail and email just for the sake of sending it, then there wasn't any ROI, wasn't return on investment. So we're trying to be smart about that. There's two kinds of strategies you can use with a push strategy and a pull strategy. So you start off with a push strategy where you reach out to a wider net and you send them material, you send them emails, you send them videos, you send them Facebook links, and you say, check us out. Then once they come to your site and say, I'm interested, that's when you change your strategy and you say, well, hey, this kid is interested, therefore now on Facebook I can post updates. So instead of just doing mass marketing, you know who the audience is, and then you can market very differently to a group that has said, I'm interested in you. So we actually use Facebook and social media more effectively, and research has shown this, it works for students who are committed to Washington College. Then you can start posting things about Washington College, because at that point the attention span has grown. When you're reaching out to a market that doesn't know you, research shows you have about 20 seconds to capture their attention. It could be a brochure, it could be an email, and the chances of them even looking at your brochure goes down more if they don't know who you are. So it could be Washington College, you could have rich content in that brochure, but if the cover is not attractive, they're not going to open it because they don't know who Washington College is. So there's a lot of science that's going into this as well, and this is what keeps me up at night in a very exciting way. I'm excited about these things. Yeah, we're living on Washington Avenue. My wife and I, our dog and our cat.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
We like it here.
Not very much Indian food, I have to say.
That's okay.
Well, we're lobbying to change this.
We brought our spices with us.
Okay.
So